Well, my first guest tonight is the youngest member in the entire U.S. Congress. He was elected last year at the age of 25. He's an America First conservative. I like that about him. You bet. And his family's roots are in the district that he now represents, and they go all the way back to the American Revolution. I'd say he's got some staying power. He says the only laws that he's going to vote for are those that will give Americans more freedom and not less. Please welcome from the 11th District of North Carolina, Congressman Madison Cawthorn. Congressman, thanks for coming.
Governor, great to be on with you.
It is an honor to have you here. You know, I've been watching you from a distance. You've got some guts, man. You're not afraid of anybody down there.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, I get to stand on the shoulders of a lot of these great conservatives who really paved the way for me. You know, everybody, I'm sure you all remember what it was like watching, in 2015, 2016, the Republican primary debates. Well, some of the greatest entertainment and political history of all time. I remember when you actually boycotted the debate, went with President Trump and held a veterans event. It was incredible, but I really think that people like you, Rand Paul, Donald Trump, you all took the collar off of young conservatives like me. And so I got to say thank you for giving me the courage to go and get to fight for the freedom I want.
Well, that means a lot to me, but quite frankly, you are paving your own way, my friend. And one of the things that I have been so appreciative is that you have been outspoken about keeping Americans' freedoms as it comes to the pandemic and not letting officials lock down churches and lock down individual small businesses, but leave the big businesses open and leave the casinos and the strip clubs open. I mean, I don't know why anyone thought that made sense.
Well, you know what? I think we've seen for the first time, I know in my short lifetime, a migration of people moving to states not just because they want to live in the geography, but because they want to live in the politics. They want to live under red governors. They want to live with people like Ron DeSantis in Florida.
Yeah.
You know,
good governor.
I come from just over the mountain range in North Carolina, where we've got a governor who did exactly what you did. You know, he listened to the woke mob. He listened to these unelected officials. And, I call him the demon Dr. Anthony Fauci. All of these people who used COVID-19 as a tool for fear. And I'm sure all of you are very similar to how I was. You know, when I first started hearing about COVID-19 and the death percentages, what it was going to look like, and they said, well, we need 2 weeks to get our logistics figured out, get our ventilators in the right spot. I said, okay, well, I totally understand that. But it went from 2 weeks to slow the spread to where, most people are 3 jabs in the arm. They've got 2 presidents. It's spanned the length of 2 years. We realize now this is not about public health. This is not about what's best for the American people and the good of everyone. It is about government control, taking power away from the American people and giving it to these unelected bureaucrats.
And that, I think, is very troubling, is that a lot of the people who have made the policy decisions are not elected. Therefore, they're not accountable. Right. They don't have to go back and answer to the voters. I often said, Congressman, that the people who made the decisions, whether they were mayors or governors or presidents, if they said something was going to be shut down and people wouldn't get their paychecks because they couldn't open their business, then the politician who made the decision shouldn't get a paycheck until that guy out there in the closed business got his paycheck back.
Governor, I couldn't agree more. And the thing that really struck me to realize that these people don't actually believe in the snake oil they're selling is when they created these vaccine mandates for every single federal employee. Yet, get this, every single member of Congress and our staffs are exempt from it. I think that tells everybody everything that you need to know.
I don't think most people know that.
They really don't, and it's because the mainstream media has become really the Gestapo.
Why would it be that Congress and the staff would be exempt from the things that the rest of us have to do? Why?
It's because it's rules for thee and not for me. I'll tell you, I work with Nancy Pelosi and AOC every single day. I know.
We got to pray for him.
You got to pray for him. But I have realized that these people, they don't actually have deeply held convictions and values that guide them. Their only religion, the only thing they believe in, is gaining more power. They will do whatever they need to do. They will say whatever needs to be said to take it away from the people. And the biggest thing that makes me so frustrated is, when I went into Washington, D.C., I thought the biggest thing we need to get instituted is a constitutional amendment for term limits to get these career politicians out of Washington, D.C.
Great idea.
As much as I believe we have got to do that, I think we need term limits for these unelected bureaucrats who have become the administrative state. And I mean, these three-letter agencies have become the fourth branch of government, Governor.
They really have.
It's really, we need to reel back the executive branch and bring the power back to the people's representatives.
You ran for Congress at a time when you just would be old enough to serve when you got elected and could be sworn in. What made you say, I want to go to Congress, I want to go to Washington, D.C.?
Well, gosh, you know, I just got married back in April. I've got a really great life. I come from a great family home, got incredible brothers. You know, I went through a terrible car accident about 7 years ago, and I've got just this incredible support group. And, you know, once that car accident happened, you know, everything became accelerated for me. I knew that if I sat around and said, you know, like most cookie-cutter politicians, you know, well, I'll get involved in politics when I'm 55, and we'll see how things are going. You know, I'll tell you, I think if I had made that decision, that when I'm raising my children, you know, my son or my daughter would look up to me one day and say, Dad, what was it like to have freedom?
Yeah.
And when I thought about raising a child in a country that is as divided as ours is right now, between elitists and statists and freedom-loving patriots, I realized that something must be done. I can't just sit back and say, I want a cushy, comfortable life that's just filled with happiness and joy, which of course we all want. But I think the dire times that we are facing right now call for unconventional measures. That's why I said, you know what? At 24 years old, I'm going to run for Congress because if we don't do something now, we will lose our country. And I think the last time that really this idea of freedom and self-government was tried was the Magna Carta, which happened, you know, several hundred years before 1776. You know, if we lose freedom today, if America becomes what Australia is right now, with stormtroopers in the streets, with force injections of what these medical procedures are, then who knows how long it will be before the people of the world and Americans know what freedom is again.
Well, I'm glad that you had the courage to run. We are happy that you were there. And I know that the folks here in the audience appreciate Congressman Madison Cawthorn. You can learn more about the Congressman and all the good work that he is doing. You simply go to Huckabee.tv. That's where you'll find a link to more information about the Congressman and, by the way, all the other guests that we have coming up on the show.
Governor, if you don't mind me saying one last thing. I mean, I'll just ask the audience out there, how great is it to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving patriots? When the rest of the country is literally afraid to breathe air unfiltered, when the rest of the country wants to live completely through social media, not ever getting face-to-face, I just thank you for having the courage and for all of you being willing to come out, because I'll tell you, we are not the minority in this country. And very soon, the flag of freedom will fly again. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Congressman Madison Cawthorn. And Congressman Cawthorn is going to be, I think, somebody to keep your eyes on.